So, we are here once again. Blessed love, and light. We are here at ABW Signature Media Plus right now in studio. Me, myself,
Lady
wifey,
Nance,
right?
welcome.
Welcome, right? Welcome to We Don't Give a
Sip.
Nice. So, we here and the discussion that we were having for a while now. We were talking about the orange economy, which is the creative economy, right? They say orange associate with creativity, and we are, along the line of having a discussion in dealing with building out a mainframe for Tobago creatives,
Yeah.
right? So, what trending? Before we get into the discussion, what trending right now?
What's trending right now?
I could tell you what trending right now.
You could always tell me what's trending right now.
For those who pay attention to politics, right? To politics, there is a situation that I saw on Facebook with the former Prime Minister,
Okay.
Dr. Keith Rowley,
Uh-huh.
and Farley Augustine.
Oh,
There was on a
Chief
panel, the
Secretary.
Chief Secretary,
Uh-huh.
Farley Augustine, was on a panel, and the moderator asked, what do we like about the former Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley?
Oh, you would have, to be precise, would have asked the states at least three things, I believe she said,
Right.
that you admire
Yeah,
about
Mhm.
each other.
Right.
Yeah.
What you admire about each other. No, I laughed at, and the reason why I laughed at is that off the bat, the chief secretary would have talked about what he admire about his, tenacity, and I just paraphrasing in regards to when he was, political leader and prime minister, and how he would have dealt with the public in dealing with, with being in the, I forget the term that he used in regards to the political arena and so forth. But put aside that, is that he out of the bat, say what he say in admire. He answered the question.
Right.
But then now is Dr. Rowley response. And it's like this man didn't know how to give a man a compliment. He didn't know how to give a man a compliment at all. He like, yo, it's real hard, boy. It's hard, it's hard.
They put him on the spot.
Put him on, yeah, they put him on the
Remember
spot.
to take his time and think,
Yeah.
because if you stand up and say, well, listen, the truth is, I ain't admire nothing. Then I'm gonna say something else. So they can take your time and think, even if
I
you
would
have
have
to
been
like,
like,
oh gosh.
you resign, you're a, what do you call it? You're a free citizen, you're a citizen right now. You're back to normal. You're back to every day, like everybody else, So I would have seen that, when you was in the game, there are certain things you would talk about, but when you're out of the game, I find you should have get the money, I think he only mentioned that, I using the word brave.
Right.
With young people, they should show more interest in the country and that kind of stuff and thing, which was nice. But then he ended up and reverted back to himself
Oh gosh.
as to when he, why he did what he did and whatever the case may be. I'm like, brother,
give him man kudos.
then
He
I come-
tried.
then I come-
He tried. I appreciate that. That's our form.
I love that. I really love that. I
Tried.
really love that. Hey, one thing I must say, I appreciate.
We can appreciate that he tried.
Exactly. I appreciate our people, right? I appreciate our people. I appreciate Tobago people. I just always tell people, I say Tobago is the only place I know. I born, I grow here, I bred here, I never left here. I never visited another country. Never. I'm hoping to change that.
Yes.
God forbid.
Changing
Well, not God
that.
forbid. God willing. At the end, either the end of the year or the beginning of next year. Going some other island, experience the thing, so and so forth. So that was basically what's trending. So guys who on the live right now, please share the live, right? Let us know if you're all hearing us clearly.
Yes.
Making sure the audio coming through. Before we introduce the next guest, right? So we as I said before, we talking about the orange economy. We're talking about
We're still talking about how we building that economy here in Tobago.
exactly.
Right. We need to, stop just talking and make some movement.
Yeah, how we could make some movement. No,
Yeah.
the thing is now, I got an interesting phone call over the weekend. It was close to the weekend. And Mr. Andy called me and said, boy, you never think about Len boy, I'm talking to Len day, ting. Oh shucks, I'll let out the secret, but nevertheless,
Yeah, we're
it is what it is. No, it's when the story does be juicy and it does end up
I
and clean
say
forget
something
everything.
else, you coming with no. What trouble is this?
But yeah, he say he talking to, a good man, and you ever think about, I said, but yeah, he does going to the schools, he doing so and so one thing, and and I end up and get to talking to the boss, and and he have quite a wealth of knowledge in regards to this space, right? And for what I would have gathered so far, him and even serve his team as well as Mr. Andy would have been one of the individuals who would have somewhat put me in this space in regards to the talent search competition with original songwriting. And what I admire about this man is the fact that he pushed originality. And to build out a industry in Tobago when it comes to the creative, originality is what need to sell. That is what we need to sell. We don't need to sell copy. We don't need to sell imitation. We need to sell original. And this man is all about originality, and I can appreciate that with our people. We could attest that our people have raw talent, right? We are raw giftings that we need to harness. We need to put within the market, put, what does call it, bring to market, export, and so forth. Which I would have actually discovered during the course of this week, that the only thing that going for us right now in Tobago is tourism. I thought we had more than that. Right? But oil and gas is Trinidad. And I'm like, what? But nevertheless, we're gonna engage. So welcome to We Don't Give a Sip. We have Mr. Len Phillips. Well, this man have a lengthy resume.
Oh gosh.
Right? So if we decide for him to go through his resume, it could just be the whole podcast. Right? So in a summary, right, I want to say welcome, Mr. Len, to We Don't Give a Sip. Right? We welcome to this space, welcome to this conversation in regards to creativity.
Well, I would say I'm very happy to be here.
Nice.
And of course, well, this is my space also.
Yeah. We know this home.
This is where I do all my music and stuff like that.
Correct.
And I looked at your program a couple of times when I had the time, because how the thing does go. And I was very impressed and very happy that we have a platform like this that we could speak.
Exactly.
We could say frankly. And that we could add some value to the narrative where it concerns culture and the orange economy and all that, and regarding the cultural atmosphere in Tobago, the development of the artists and etc.
Yes.
Right? Now, at this point in time in my life, I am focused on developing young people.
Right.
And I'm also focused on the underrated.
Okay.
I tell you why. Now, I have been training people, teaching voice cultivation for over 45 years.
Wow.
And I have met a lot of people with very good voices.
Right.
Some of them have developed into songwriting.
Right.
Some of them have become recording artists. I wouldn't call the names of all because there are quite a few. And have done well. Others have been disenchanted. And the reason for that is because they don't get the opportunities.
Right.
And sometimes in Tobago, we have a tendency to overlook the underrated and keep recycling those that are already out there.
Right.
And I'm not saying that to cast any kind of thing to say, well, who with favor,
Fair enough.
But there are lots of people. I know, I have met persons who have tried to write songs. I help some of them to put them together properly. And they end up with them in their drawers.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's nowhere to go, there's no opportunity and stuff like that. Right. Well, you remember that myself, Mr. Wilson, and a couple other people who were in group called the Tobago Local Talent Blast would have
Yeah.
made an effort
Mm-hmm.
to get some of these people out.
Yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
we had the Tobago Local Talent Blast Original Song Contest,
Mm-hmm.
and we used the platform at GLS Radio to highlight that.
Yeah, for sure.
That was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
fortunately, or wherever, you were the winner.
Yeah,
You,
for sure.
you were the proud winner of that,
Yeah.
that competition.
That's
with
true.
That,
That's
that,
true.
That very historical song that you did.
Yeah.
Some of the things, I want to highlight a few things that I am concerned about.
But before I get to that,
Yeah.
right? I just still want to know, well, for those people who do not know, because we have a lot of individuals within this space, and I'm talking about young artists, and we tend to overlook, as you rightfully say, you talk about overlooking. And one of the things that we tend to overlook is the part that yourself being a veteran, other individuals who would have actually played a part for bringing what we know now as culture. Like Dirim was talking about our senior last episode, and we only could hear those things like bits and pieces. And one of the things that I don't want to happen is that, God forbid, you leave the scene and anything that you would have done is not being broadcasted, is not being documented,
Right.
and so forth. So what, before you actually dive into where you dive into, I remember you was talking about going into the schools, because in regards to and it might play into what you actually have to present, right? Going into the school, sharing your knowledge, your passion in regards to having it at an education level. Now, I would have, when we started with obviously, creating a family and so forth, we are talent, we are giftings, we have giftings
We know
in
that,
music,
yeah.
myself and my wife, right? And obviously, automatically, your children tend to want to follow in daddy and mommy footsteps. And when we start looking for schools, we go through plenty of them. We ask, what is your music program is like? What So by So is like, and thing. And I remember when we went to one of the schools, and them, I will not name the school. They said, boy, somebody does come and do something, whenever, and it doesn't think. And we realized that within the schools, music is not being taken seriously, right? You had one particular school that we actually went to, and they actually attending that school right now. And when we went in the auditorium, is because we see a whole band. I could say that a set of pans that could make out a full band in stuck in a corner, rusted on, just day. And I'm like, yo, seriously? So there is the focus of the academics with the English and the mathematics and the comprehension and the creative writing, but what creates what we see in our culture with the music, with the dance, with the heritage, all of that, that we do, we tend to see that being like on the bottom of the looning. So from your point of view, what is what is missing in
How do we
regards
fix
to,
that?
as well as
How do we
again,
fix
how
that?
do we fix that?
All right. Number one. Now, we had the experience when we worked. When I said we, I work along sometimes with Mr. Jeffrey Lewis. Everybody knew him as Saka.
Okay.
We have been working together for over 45 years as well.
Right.
Right? Groups with choirs, with schools, all over.
Right.
And we have discovered by working with 4 schools for music festival,
Right.
we realized that there was a hunger for that kind of a education, that kind of thing to be put on the curriculum.
Right.
And
Okay, talking.
I was approached by several students in some of these schools, and they asked me to help them write the song, and someone even come and say, I write a song, and they wanted me to hear how the song go and stuff like that. But we realized also that there was a rush and that the children were not prepared,
Okay.
because now they have all the different things on the syllabus
Right.
Yeah.
that they have to deal with in the school and stuff like that. And then to take time out to get prepared for music festival, and you're rushing this, and it was a real task.
Right.
And I remember doing a proposal to these 4 schools, and they wanted to do it on their own, raise funds and do
Right.
it on their own. As a matter of fact, I will call schools. One of the schools that have been very proactive in this regard is Bethesda Primary
Private
School.
school.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Recently, as recent as Thursday, I had the privilege of going to Speyside High School.
Right.
It was the second time I'm going there over years to conduct a songwriting workshop.
Right.
Okay.
And I would have also gone to Speyside Primary School,
Okay.
as well as a few other schools based on Golden Lane School as well, based on they wanting to have that for the children.
Okay.
So we know that there are teachers in the school who are very concerned about that.
Yeah.
Now I want to make a suggestion. My suggestion is this. My suggestion is that music should start in schools from kindergarten.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Now my father, they taught them music in school. When he could have read any music score.
Yeah.
And I used to be, I kind of follow after him in a kind of way.
Yeah.
Because people used to come home by us, and he was so versed in the music, they used to come home, they used to be practicing and stuff like that. But everybody was reading from the score.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I cannot read music very fluently, right? I maybe cut from a different cloth. Just la the thing for me, and I write there with it. But I know the
that's a
basic.
good gift,
I
though.
know the
Yeah,
basic
that's a
music
good.
and
That's
so
a good
on.
gift. That's a
But
good gift.
you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you go in a church to play for them, and they bring this.
They bring a whole score. Yeah.
I call one of them. I say, "Come." I say, "This is Lala."
La, la.
Lala, the first verse, and let me hear it go. I say, "Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay," right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then I am able to predict based on the melodic shape.
Right.
I am able to predict what the next chord
What the
could
chord gonna
be
be.
or
Right.
would be,
Yeah,
as the
no,
case
that's a
might
talent.
be.
That's a very
Yeah.
good
All
talent.
right, okay. So I'm saying that music fosters a kind of discipline.
Yes.
Right.
It
Well, it is a discipline.
creates a different
It
kind of
does.
character.
Yeah.
It also shapes character, helps
Yeah.
to shape character. From small, from young, and I am seeing that happen with my 2 grandchildren at home.
Right.
Because they are on the keyboard.
Okay.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Okay.
And I am amazed. My grandson was on the keyboard for some weeks, and then when he came day before yesterday, I said, I started to call some chords. I said P, E minor, and he was right there, F, and he was right there. I said, wow. And I don't know how they do it, but
Right.
when children are focused,
Yeah.
they tend to remember things
Yeah.
very well. Okay, I have some bullet points here. So
No, see.
right. So by doing that, they will be able to learn proper vocal skills.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, one of the things about it is that a lot of people, a lot of children nowadays
Yeah.
listen to a kind of music. I'm not going to call it kind of music,
Yeah, we
which
know the
is
kind of
not
music. We know. We know.
melodic.
Right.
The melody doesn't go anywhere. The music doesn't go anywhere. And I'm
the lyrics.
wondering, what kind of people live? Why is this?
Yeah.
What am I hearing?
And
Yeah.
poor diction
And-
and everything.
And I went out to the school there, and one of the girls come to ask me if I could play that kind of music for them. You know, and I'm wondering, and I'm trying catching me and trying to tell them, well, look, you know, I remember a guy came by me once to do voice training, private, because some people come home and do private training. But he is a dancehall artist.
Right.
Right? So I said, boss, I said, you have to learn to sing.
Sing.
And
Correct.
then you could do dancehall, you could do anything.
Yeah.
Right? And that was a big task.
Wow.
Because he was so accustomed
Yeah.
to that kind of genre, accustomed the music playing in C and you singing in G and all kind of, you know, and they accept
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And people, I don't know, but
Sometimes somehow people tend to gravitate
but
to
we
it more
come
than
from
you
a
know.
different era, so maybe
Yeah.
this is the era that people do that and that is accepted. However, you learn proper vocal skills, learning to write songs, poems, and short stories.
Right.
All these things should be taught to the children from early. Wake up the
It
creative,
opens the
creative
imagination,
genes,
yeah.
right? You have to understand how to use language. And as I was telling the children at Speyside, metaphors are very effective. You know, some people wouldn't understand because they're not going deep.
Right.
We are superficial.
Yeah.
But when you could describe like the crying moon,
Yes.
to be able to understand how to interpret that, you have
Yeah.
to be going a little deeper than just the word. Because words have moods. And based on your tonal injections, how you use the word, you could carry a different message with it.
Right.
I could tell you come, and you ain't moving at all.
Yeah.
And I could tell you come again with
And
a
it-
certain
a
kind of
certain
tone,
Yeah.
and it
yeah,
gets you
assertiveness,
scared.
yeah,
You react
yeah.
immediately,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? So based on how you use the word and interpret the mood of the word, you could get the message across. Even when speaking
Yeah.
in public speaking, I teach public speaking as well.
Okay,
Right.
cool.
Now I tell you something, and most of us we use it,
Yeah.
and but we have to practice not to use it. There's something called flawed speech. I'll just dive into that for a little bit, where you want to say something,
Right.
but at the same time, and it happens, it also assists you when you're going to write songs and when you're speaking to people.
Right.
But sometimes we find ourselves locked. As we move along, we look for the other word. So we look for the easy way out.
This is yeah.
So the
correct.
easy way out is
Yeah.
well, you know, and I don't know.
Right.
Flawed speech. We call it there's and there's
Yeah.
and very intelligent people are caught in
Yeah. We are
this.
cos- yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You listen to some of the
true.
politicians
It's
as
true.
they speak.
Yeah.
And Mr. Speaker, and we and here now, this is I just
It's
sit
true.
back and I just
It's
laugh.
true.
But
Yeah.
I used to be like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll
Yeah.
tell you something.
I should.
By attending the Tobago Community College with Dr. Winston Murray, and sometimes we don't regard those persons who have the services and the things to add
Yeah. Yeah.
to us becoming,
becoming,
right? But he
yeah.
was very, very, very instrumental in getting me to understand. Because the thing about it is this: you're reaching out. You must be able to have a wide vocabulary.
Right.
You use extended words. You use alternate words.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So okay, there are different words. Bear. Bear is an animal, but here we
It
could
could be
bear
a drink.
Fruit.
a child,
Yeah. Be a true.
and we
Yeah.
could bear a burden, and we could bear some patience.
Well,
Bear
I
with me.
be-
And we could drink a beer.
And we could drink a beer. Beautiful. So we have different words,
Yeah.
but then again, all the words might mean the same
Mean the
thing.
same
Yeah.
thing.
But
Correct.
we could use
Correct.
alternate words now that mean the same
The
thing.
same
Yes.
thing. Correct.
So we have
Yeah.
homonyms, we have synonyms, and we
Yeah.
have antonyms.
Antonyms.
And we
Right.
need to understand these. And these things should be taught in schools.
Yeah.
Because when we were going to school, they taught us these things.
Right.
And I'm asking some children in some schools certain things and they
They
don't
don't
know.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is happening.
But
So
you
let me
know,
ask a
but
question.
let,
Yeah,
yeah,
go
let me,
ahead.
but you know, these things are because I have 4 kids, I have 4 children. So these things, I would see them coming home with these things, right? But what I am amazed by is the connection and the link that these things that it has to the other subject areas, right? So it's not just about, you know, you're picking up a pen and a paper and you just say go in and write, and you don't have these fundamentals
That's right.
because they all link
That's right.
to your English, your creative writing, your creativity, even in doing a little art piece. Then you could be able to describe the crying moon in something that you might draw or
Right.
something like that kind of thing.
Or the angry sea.
Yeah, so
You
I
know,
could
and-
see where that connection is, and even as I said from kindergarten, that
Yeah.
this should be taught because the minds of the children at that time is so receptive, and your subconscious would keep those things in there, and it would come out at the time like, "Will you hear that? Will you know that? And how you remember that?" Because even with my daughter, there are some things that I get her to remember by singing it to her. So there was this formula and something that she was doing in school, and for today, if I start singing it, she would finish it for me
Okay.
because she learned about Valentine's Day being on what day because I sang it in a song and these things. So it also makes you aware of the different learning styles of children in school.
Yeah.
So it's quite amazing, you know. I really
as you-
appreciate that.
As sorry. As you rightfully say, now is when I became an adult, I get to understand the HD is the ADHD something, some attention some
Yeah,
attention,
short attention
some
span.
attention span,
kinda.
some HDD, something, right? I can't remember.
I
it.
don't know the acronym.
The acronym
for
for
it,
it,
but
right?
I
I
understand.
myself does get tired put it sometimes, but is that I couldn't sit down in a classroom. It was very hard for me to sit down in a classroom. Is one teacher I remember would have recognized that with me in Roxbury.
When,
And I
hold on. When I say you couldn't sit down in a class,
All right, when the teacher teaching, I wasn't settled. I was
Oh,
always
You
jittery. I
couldn't
always
settle.
okay,
looking for
okay,
something else
okay.
to do. I'm not
couldn't
paying
focus
attention.
on
I
what
was
you're doing for too
focused,
long.
you know. No, I
Jittery.
couldn't- jittery, yeah.
And
So, one teacher recognized it. He said, and he came home, right? Now, I'm talking about the inches, right? I'm talking about the inches as to where teachers is concerned in regards to at least diagnosing a child to see,
Right.
okay, what is the learning pattern or
capacity.
exactly the
Yeah.
capacity to learn. So, he came home and he talked to my mother and he said, hey, your son have the ability to learn. He can learn, right? But it's just that he can't sit down in a classroom, right? Now, I end up and work for the same teacher in the professional world, right? And I could call his name because I always just give him kudos. That Mr. James, God James. Well, you know Mr. God James is, in my book, in my view, a top musician, right? And singer, right? Very talented. So,
And also a distant relative of mine.
well, look at that, you see? So, yes, so when he actually saw that, he came and I doubt he remember this. He came and he talked to my mother about it and thing. I end up in the same place that he was working, right, in the radio station. And he came one day and he said, hey, what? Because he know my ability to learn, he said, come here, I'll come and show you something. I showed it once, and I had to go and do it 3, right? Because that is when we used to do outside broadcasting. He was showing me that time they were using Smarty. So that is one that does connect to the phone line and then they could dial into the
Yeah,
radio
yeah,
station, right, and so
yeah.
forth, right? So he told me, I'm showing you this once. You need to learn it now, and then you need to go out and do it. If you have any problems when you're out there, let me know, auntie. I watch him. He do everything, connect, wherever, dial up, wherever. Side, go. I said, Dresser, when I go out there, every single thing that he did there,
You were able to
I was
do it.
able to just do it exactly what he would have think. Sometimes when I get so good in understanding it so to the point where sometimes when they get into like different frequency trying to cut in and I know what to do to get it back on to
Right.
the line and whatever the case may be and what and troubleshoot and whatever the case may be. So I'm saying
Because
that
they're
those
more
are the things
practical
that
and visual and practical.
yeah, exactly. There are a number of times that we tend to just teach children with a broad brush. And because we don't have no I just talking out of because I never seen it happen where teachers would have assessed the thing the children to see okay where do they put them and how they could able to learn and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
There are still good teachers around.
Yeah, and again,
There are still
yeah,
teachers
yeah.
who take
I not
personal
yeah.
interest in children, who look at the psychological behavior,
Yeah.
right, and able to psychometrically deal
Mhm.
with some of these children because
Yeah.
then basically most of the problems that children face
Mhm.
begin at home.
Correct.
It is from your home environment
Yeah.
where we have a serious problem.
Mhm.
The problem is that we no longer have that family synergetical kind of atmosphere
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
where people would sit and talk,
So, yeah.
sit and laugh.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that will assist children,
Mhm.
and we have lost that significantly in their early years,
Mhm.
is for oral traditions and stories to be
Right.
told to them. And I was blessed with a mother.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes we used to fall asleep and we
Yeah,
had
true, true.
Right.
and she will
Yeah.
tell us all kind of stories
Stories.
about when she was young, growing up, and different things that
My
happened.
grandmother did that.
And halfway through the story, we gone,
Yeah.
fall asleep.
Yeah,
Next
true.
night she
She
continued
couldn't
the
do the
story.
story.
And then I had a father
Mhm.
who was like a walking encyclopedia. So he knew all the history from almost every family in Golden
yeah.
Lane, Mount Thomas and Culloden, and everybody who connected, and different kind of issues that things were happening,
Right.
and that kind of thing. And we used to talk a lot.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that don't happen is that we don't have elders
Right.
interacting now
And
with
exa-
young
yeah,
people.
yeah, it
We
should.
cut them off.
Yeah.
Well, I am an elder,
Mhm.
but I'm talking as a youth.
Right.
We cut them off because they're old now.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
cut them
we
off,
cut- yeah.
and that is where the knowledge is.
Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
yeah, and
Right?
I believe
Agreed.
in bridging the gap, right? I believe in bridging the gap. When I got the call for the talent blast competition, right? I was like, yo, but Miss Andy, come and do the thing. I said, but I never enter in no competition. I said, well, with him, I have faith in Miss Andy. I have all faith in him. So whenever he say, all right, come and do this, I come in and do it. I don't ask no question. I come in and do it.
Yeah, we talk
Yeah.
about you talk about not that no one could talk about it.
Yeah.
We talk about Creed Black, and even before the NA competition, he was saying I feel Creed taking it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of way. But then again, you can't really come out and let
Come out and let
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
yeah,
know
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of story.
Exactly.
Right? But
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing as I want to continue here.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the things that children could learn, and there are people here
Mm-hmm.
that could teach them.
Yeah.
There are people here. We
Yeah.
have our human resources here
Yeah.
Mhm.
that could do that. We don't have to send to Trinidad or Guyana or wherever to get that. We have people here.
So what is the interest in leaving?
Huh?
What is the big interest in leaving?
I mean to go where?
Like to go to Trinidad for to go to
Well, if you
Trinidad.
don't, if you can't find it here, or if you don't prefer to use from here, you go elsewhere.
Yeah, but you just say that we have the people here. No,
And
it
we
could two
talking
things.
about
I could
building
Yeah, we
the
talking
culture here
you
in
building the
Tobago.
culture here in
So what
Tobago.
better way than
Yeah.
to use with own
Your
people?
own people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
you have to utilize now. So most of the times,
Mhm.
when people are successful,
Mhm.
most successful people, you know how to become successful? They have been given a chance.
Correct.
Exactly.
One chance
Mhm.
at something, at
Yeah.
some point in their life,
Yeah.
and they took advantage of the opportunity
Mhm.
and they became successful.
Right.
And I could talk about that. I
Mhm.
might not be rich in terms of
Mm.
being
Mm,
thing,
no,
but
rich in knowledge.
I count,
Yeah.
I count my blessings every day,
Yeah.
right? However,
Mhm.
we're talking about things that they could learn again,
Mhm.
understanding the mood of those that went through that already,
Correct.
and how to use tonal injections or something.
Mhm.
Well, we explained that because I might use a different tone for different
Yeah.
things. We explained that already.
Achieve it.
And then we have performance techniques, and there's something called crowd psychology.
Mhm.
Sometimes I went to a function, I'm not going to call the name of the person, and the function was, let me call it in a different way.
Mhm.
So you are invited to perform
Right.
in a wedding,
Mhm.
and you're going to a wedding to sing a funeral song.
What?
I just showing you. You have to know what kind of song. You have to know what kind of song to sing for the people sing.
You catch me off guard.
If the thing is a graduation, you
Yeah.
do something
Appropriate. It's true.
Correct.
It's
Well, you
true.
can't go in a
It's
wedding
true.
and sing a funeral song in a
Oh,
wedding.
Lord.
So we go look, or you can't go in a
Oh, my God,
funeral
Lord.
and sing one of them. What do you call them? You can't go with the same rhetoric. What the guy named the? One of them reggae singers. Any one of them?
Mhm. So like Romaine.
Romaine.
Yeah.
Romaine. And they go in a funeral
Mhm.
to sing. What a guy named just the other day.
Mhm.
Vibes Cartel.
Like, all right.
That is what I try to remember.
Yeah.
Oh my
Right?
gosh.
It doesn't come. You have to understand
Mhm.
because then you go just like a DJ,
Mhm.
or you go to a thing. Sometimes I go to a function and I look at the crowd and I see the kind of crowd. I change my repertoire.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be sensitive.
You have to be sensitive.
Right? Because then, them people ain't gonna appreciate
Mhm.
that. You go
Mhm.
to a school,
Mhm.
you have to be careful.
You have to be yeah.
Because
certain
no,
rules
I
that could
don't
use,
like
yeah.
to push anything that is negative.
Mhm.
For
I
especially
for that.
children.
I for that. Mhm.
I see some people encouraging that kind of thing, but
Mhm.
I am not for that. But then there's something called image.
Mhm.
And there's a saying, image is everything.
Yeah.
And most of the times, people will neglect that part of it.
Mhm.
But image
Mhm.
begins within.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't, not what you look like, it's what you think.
I like that.
And that is a different kind of image. And that is the image you're nurturing.
I love
With
that.
these children from small, if you get them in that kind of way.
Right.
And then again, right, let me get into another area, a bigger area. So that's for the school. So I believe that schools should have that as a subject, or if it's an extracurriculum activity, then you make space for that, because I know some schools have a certain period of time that they have for extracurriculum activities,
Right.
and some of these schools engage people. Now I can call his name. I know Delbert Henry is very busy with certain schools with the PAN,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
He works.
Right.
I don't know who, if the school is paying him or who is
Or the
paying him,
right.
but I know he does a very good job because he bunks up in a couple schools already. I think he does work for a couple churches as well.
Okay.
And
Okay.
he is good. There are other persons that are very good in Tobago that could offer musical services
Right.
that could enhance the quality that we have, because we have some young musicians that need a little pruning
Yeah.
in terms of, because recently there's a guy playing a keyboard, great guy, nice. So I was in an area with him and I said, give me a G major 7, and here now, man, I was so embarrassed. The man ain't know, and he playing it, you know. He don't know where to find G major 7.
Oh.
So I had to go and, well, me and he good. And I started show him a pattern, how to understand how to build chords and stuff like that. But he playing them. But we had to get out of that.
He play by ear.
Right?
He play
Yeah,
by
but
ear.
I just play by ear.
Yeah.
But it's not just
That
that. There's
alone.
something deep and then playing by ear. Not anything you're playing and,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Get into it. If you're into it, get into
Get
it.
into
But
it.
Right.
I have a question to ask on that note, right? But first, as I was talking about teachers, I need to give kudos to the music teacher that I had when I was going to school, because this person is responsible for a lot of the artists that's on the island, as far as I know.
A good bit.
Yeah,
A
a good
good
bit of them.
no, true, it's true.
And I could
It's
call
true.
names like Donald Job, Kezia Frederick, what's his stuff? Jack, Kishore
Kishon
Jack,
Jack. Yeah.
Akeelia Murphy, myself, a lot of other persons, and that is Mr. Steve Jack.
Yeah.
Mr. Steve Jack taught music in Roxborough Sec, and he was very, very strict about his
I
music.
hear you. But if Kisa Frederick hear you right now,
She'll
she'll
say
say
something
wrong,
different.
wrong.
Yeah, she was. Well,
Because Kisa Frederick was a little girl about 4 years old, living just behind me every day. She inside of the yard. And one day I asked her, I said, why you not going home? She said she want to learn to play
Play
the
keyboard.
You
Keyboard.
could take it from there. Because
Yes.
she's a great player.
yes, I know
Right?
she
And
was
played
playing
bass.
a
From
lot
a
of,
musical family too.
Yeah.
and she was
People-
playing a lot of
Uncle.
instruments while she was
You
at
know Kat?
school.
Cat.
Cats was
And
playing
that
Kaiwa, guitar.
And that's the
I
guy.
don't know the guy.
You know
I
Cat,
know
man, he
Cat.
play with John Arnold down in thing he used to play with Lyndon.
Okay.
Yes, very little only
Guitar.
man.
Okay.
Right.
okay,
I know who
okay,
you're talking
okay.
about.
Right?
She will know.
Well, he came. We were rehearsing in my old man porch. We had a little Rasta group, right? And he came. He said, "Boy, you have to learn to play that guitar, there, boy." You know, because that's how we talk when we home, man.
Okay. Yeah. When you home here, you talk. Yeah.
And
Talk
one
on
of
top.
my first cousins showed him 3 chords, right? Today, the same man who showed the 3 chords, he can't see where Cat plays because Cat play guitar like that.
Yeah.
We used to spend from. I used to live in Pump Mill.
Right.
And sometimes I go up on a weekend. And me and that man used to sit down in my old man porch. Me with a keyboard, he with the guitar. And a whole night we go in,
You're going.
down the road. And right now, if I was to pick a guitarist, apart from Kashif, Kashif is top
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
But if I had to pick a guitarist, boom, and say, let me go and play. I could say, Cap, let me go and play.
Yeah.
Right.
They had to practice. Not.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
come
Yeah,
back
well,
to
she
something
came in-
here just before we
Yeah.
go. Now, we have a situation here where we have recording artists in Tobago.
Right.
We're recording artists in Tobago who are not members of any copyright or any performing right body and are not members of the local body court, who have not yet had their songs properly copyrighted,
Yeah.
who are not yet have the ISRC code, the International
The-
Standard
that's- yeah,
Recording Code. I would urge them to get in touch. I know Ray Rupnarayan is
The contact
licensing
over here.
officer
Yeah,
in
over here.
Tobago.
Correct.
Get in touch with him, get in contact with CUT and make an effort to get your songs protected.
Protected. Yeah.
Because these days, in terms of collecting royalties, you're not going to collect any royalties if you're not a member. Your song could play on the radio a million times.
Yeah.
You don't collect
and
nothing.
you don't collect nothing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Apart from that, your ISRC code allows your song to be identified anywhere.
Internationally,
The
correct.
International Standard Recording Code.
Correct.
Because I might have a song called Morning Glory, and you might have a song called
Yeah.
Glory. Which one belongs to Queen Black? Which one
Correct.
belongs to me?
Correct is right.
Right?
That's true.
So that is something we need to pay attention. Apart from that, we have the effect of music right now. There's a music that is damaging our youth, and that is why we need to bring into schools
Right.
in a holistic,
In a holistic way. Yeah.
so that we don't have to rush to get people prepared for heritage, for music
Yeah.
festival,
Right.
Because we'll have them agreed.
best village for nothing. Because
Yeah.
I could tell you is a thing, because I am one of the best village judges in Tobago,
Right.
and I could see that this year I am saying it straight out. The standard was not as last,
That's last. Yeah.
right? And I know why. Because these children have so many things to, and then to rush to
The rush,
Yeah.
the rush.
best village
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like that. That is the problem.
yeah.
So we need to restructure the cultural agenda,
Yeah.
the cultural syllabus in the schools. Because not singing and music alone,
Right.
Correct. The history.
dance and everything. But these things will help to reshape
Correct.
Our
this,
island.
the way
yes.
how the young people are going and thinking.
Yeah.
And we might be able to save some.
Yeah.
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 Right?
Yeah.
Apart
Believe
from
that.
that, we are sitting on a gold,
Gold.
mine of culture into
Everybody, you come and sit down on that chair saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Saying
And
the
it's
same
like
thing.
the same thing I said with bridging the gap. If
Yeah.
the older ones not talking to the younger ones and passing on these information, then there is a break in the history of the younger ones knowing where we came from, things
Yeah.
that were done.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get slack for saying this, but I think our radio stations
Ooh.
are guilty of not understanding
The,
their role
the
Wow.
rule. Ah.
in promoting
Oh, you're pinching them.
culture
Like.
of Tobago. And I will leave it
The
there.
thing is, I agree because everybody have their part to play,
Right?
so I
Now,
could
one of
totally
the
agree
things
with
about
that.
me, I am very sorry. I call a spade
A
a
speed.
Speed.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Some people might get angry and say things, but then that is the way I am.
I believe when we go down that road, we tend to operate from a place of ignorance and not understanding, because we use a lot of countries as example when coming to the music, Jamaica being one of them. We're seeing Dominica now with Boyon coming up into the space. Now, when I do the research on Boyon, I think I see Boyon was since in 1980s, right? That's somewhat between soca, some elements of
It's a
soca in it.
crossover.
It's a crossover,
Yeah,
right?
crossover.
Yeah.
That is Caribbean. Now, the thing about it, we came from a place
Yeah.
where there was a natural rhythm in our soul,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we brought it here.
Yeah.
The stories that we hear sometimes, some of them are not complete. Like the story of Calypso, how we develop and all this kind of story. We don't have the real story being told. properly in
exactly,
schools.
exactly,
Wow.
So
exactly.
a lot of children would not know. So if you don't know something, you can appreciate it.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
If you
So-
are told something over and over and they put it in a way that every day you have to, if every day when you go to school, there's a time that you must
exactly.
You must
I believe
Yeah.
that.
get into some cultural aspect.
I agree with you there.
Right? You have no excuse whatsoever
exactly.
unless you read something had to be wrong with you.
And that's what I'm saying, because we have a lot of times we have moved away from we people, we culture.
Yeah.
Now, like for instance, like if we had asked them to buy my daughters, but them gonna know about that because we will talk about that. Because whatever little we would have gotten from my grandmother, where she might have get from she grandmother and thing, coal pot. Right? If you tell them children what's a coal pot,
They
they gonna be like,
can't tell like a pot in the fridge and it get cold.
yeah, yeah, they don't even
Like,
know what
that's-
that
I
is.
have cold pot home.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my
Never
two grandchildren home,
Mhm.
them does barbecue
Them
and all
is-
kind
you
of-
see?
they cooking and baking and all kind of
That's
things.
it. So
Right?
in
So-
little pockets, you have the people who would have gotten that knowledge from
Yeah.
from the old heads,
And
and they could be able
As
to
I
pass
said
it on.
that
Yeah.
too, now, once in a while,
Mhm.
I would see one of my grandchildren home.
Mhm.
Well, I say home because they have others, right?
Right.
I would see one of my grandchildren home
Yeah.
walking aimlessly, and I would call them and I said, "Why are you just walking about?" I said, "Don't waste time. you cannot afford to waste time these days.
Yeah.
Always occupy yourself doing something
Something.
or once.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, it is no. Okay.
I just do that too. I just do
One of
that.
the things
Yeah.
some people might find, if they know what I do, they will
Mhm.
find that I am where.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now I live at Runnymede Local Road, right
Mhm.
under the rainforest,
Mhm.
and there's a beautiful road going down to the hotel,
Right.
Coffee River Nature Retreat.
Okay.
Right.
And I escape down there sometimes.
Mhm.
I might park up the car, and I might spend a couple hours just
Mhm.
brainstorming, going
Mhm.
through my head, or I might write a song,
Mhm.
or as the case might be,
Mhm.
or I might be going through a proposal or something
Mhm.
that I
Yeah.
want to do,
Yeah.
and I just need to be quiet.
Yeah, your peace,
Mhm.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
I have that blessing because
Mhm.
then not everybody
Have a
that.
nice area
Correct.
like
You hear
that.
everything, you hear a car pass
Yeah,
outside,
yeah,
bam,
yeah.
this and that. By me,
Mhm.
when a car pass, it had to pass because you have somebody going home
Mhm.
or they're going home at the hotel.
Exactly.
Not at
Like
where
traffic, heavy traffic,
flowing.
yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So I try to get them to understand that time is
Mhm.
not to be wasted.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
instead of, like I saw my grandson play with that little stick to he's 7 years old, right?
Mhm.
I call him and say, hey, I said that stick can't teach you nothing.
Mhm.
But you understand what I mean?
Mhm.
But I don't want to be behind them and say, hey,
Yeah.
go and sit down on
Go
the
and-
keyboard.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
and do it.
yeah,
No, you
yeah.
must be able to get up of your own
Mhm.
free will
Yeah.
and say, okay, this is one of the things on my agenda for today.
today, yeah.
I have 10 minutes
Yeah.
for this, so we spend
Mhm.
10 minutes
10 minutes
doing
on-
that, and
Right.
etc. When you program yourself like that, then you become an organized person. And if you do that from young, you
Yes,
know what's going to
yes,
happen.
exactly.
You have a well-rounded individual,
Individual.
an adult,
Mhm.
going into an adult
Mhm.
that will be able to pass on the same training
Mhm.
to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But this fella here
Ooh, we'll talk about that.
it took away
A lot.
a lot
A
from
lot.
us.
A lot. A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
I must admit, a lot.
And everybody home,
Yeah.
they head down
Mhm.
on the phone, and we right there.
Yeah.
And it happens to me. Well,
Yeah.
when I say happens to me, I upstairs.
Mhm.
My wife downstairs. I want to talk to she.
Mhm. You call
Yeah, they happen to me
we
sometimes. Them
We do
children
that
be
too.
like,
We
Mommy,
do that
too.
like, you didn't
Yeah.
just text that they are all in the same house.
Yeah.
Are we the same?
Same, yeah, same space. No, trust me, that thing is the
Yeah,
devil.
yeah.
But I don't hear that, man.
Yeah.
Long ago, I could remember in Golele.
Yeah.
I live in about half a mile from the telephone
Mhm.
down the road, and
Mhm.
somebody comes and tell me, let a telephone call.
Call from here. Mhm.
I take every time go down the road.
Mhm.
The person still on the line.
Yeah. Yeah. They're waiting.
And look at today.
Yeah.
You don't even have a boot. A
Nah,
telephone
no
boot.
boot
Yeah.
again, man.
Yeah.
You have everything at your fingertips. No,
So-
I had a series of questions I wanna, and I was really hoping that the next guest would have been here, right? But since that you were like in and out of the school and so forth, actually my most general questions based on what you said so far, you answer all, right? You answer all
I
the
still have
questions,
one.
right? So now we talking about education, and we're talking about also the orange economy. We're talking about Tobago creating their own industry that it could be sustainable, right? Because we need that in this space, right? We see there are too much talent on the block, a lot of talent on the block, and they don't have no opportunity, and that tend to be the cry a lot. So, as you rightfully say, you need to start from in the schools, and I believe that, and I agree with you with where that is concerned. Now, question I want to ask is, are the schools doing enough to prepare students for careers in creative fields?
Alright, before I answer that question,
Mhm.
because I think it will hinge on what I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Right? Because when I think about music in the schools, the first thing I hear, what in the book list to buy is a flute.
Yeah.
So my question is, because I don't see in events or whatever people playing the flute as this big instrument
Unless they
that
go on-
would assist in any of the whatever. Is the flute, or was the flute a historical instrument, or is it the basic instrument to help you learn notes or something, then you move on from there? Why so much emphasis being placed on purchasing a flute for persons to learn music in school? I couldn't understand it.
Since we was in school.
I am out of school how much years now, and my daughter home blowing this flute in my ears. Mary had a little
Sorry.
So no, I really need to know
All right, let me answer. Let me try and answer your question.
Yeah.
I would say that some of the schools, no, I don't know about all the
All
schools,
is good, right? Yeah.
but the schools that I know,
You are part of.
I
Right.
know that they have a limited music program
Okay.
going on with them, and I know that they are willing to enhance that.
Oh, okay. So they,
I know
okay.
that.
Mhm.
As we can see, some are making efforts on their own
Mhm.
to do that, and I think that is very noteworthy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we could commend those teachers who go the extra mile
Agreed.
to make sure that they get some kind of cultural, that's something like a little icebreaker to it, but it's an icebreaker with a purpose.
Yeah. Yes.
On the other hand, now many years ago, for Best Village, I happened to be one of the persons in the camp for children. And one of the skills that I learned when I was growing up is how to make bamboo flute. And actually, a lot of bamboo flutes used to be around in my
Right.
time. And so I learned how to make them. I know how to make them, how to get
It's
the
an
right
African
notes and-
instrument.
So that was my thing, and I thought I was at Plymouth, and I taught the children in the camp there to make bamboo flutes, and it was a really nice exercise because you have to know when to cut the bamboo and etc. You cut the bamboo in last quarter because if you cut the bamboo in first quarter and new moon and other moons,
Yeah.
you're not going to stand, you're going to run.
Right.
Okay.
Right? If you cut the bamboo in last quarter, and we have 7 days in last quarter. Today's last quarter, we have 7 days going on until something called no moon,
No moon. Right.
right? Which is a day that the moon changes before it gets to the first quarter,
Got it, right.
right? The new moon, sorry,
Right,
The
right.
moon. Yeah.
right? So, as far as I know, we didn't see any of those fruits until they started to come.
Right.
Because you know when we in the 60s and them kind of time we would be exposed to a lot of different things. We had to make our own. So you find people like Tobago Crusoe, who is from my village.
Okay.
He was one of the first persons in the village to make a guitar out of wood with nylon strings.
Okay.
He used to buy the nylon in the and I don't know how he used to play it, but it used to be, and then I saw him with a kind of tin cup thing. We used to
Right.
make our own
You
guitar.
go to get yeah,
And
yeah,
my
yeah.
own little climpan and
Yeah.
stuff like I used to tune climpan and thing when I was small.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to tune climpan and
That's
play.
right. Interesting.
Right?
Right.
Because you see, I grew up in a musical family.
Yeah.
And you see the same thing we talk about.
Yeah.
From small, I grew up
Yeah.
in a musical family.
Yeah.
And it followed me.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that will happen with the children in school. Because I am seeing some children, some children come around and they're eager.
Yeah.
They're looking at you play
Play-
the
yeah,
keyboard.
exactly,
And I
yeah.
know, wow, they want to play the keyboard too, but they don't
Yeah.
have one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
At
yeah,
one
yeah.
point in time, I was at Golden Lane Government School teaching children to play the piano by ear. Well, of course, soon after one time is the next.
It's the next. Yeah.
So basically, yes, there are teachers in the schools that have the interest at heart and the children at heart in
Yeah.
terms of seeing them develop culturally and making an effort to assist. I know that some of the schools make full use of the pans. I was at
Right.
Blackrock School
Right.
at some point in time when they had graduation or something
Right.
like that, and the children and them did well, and they have a pan tutor there, teacher,
Right.
teacher there. So not all the schools, but
But, yeah.
basically, it is not something to be just jump out with just before music festival, just before Heritage,
Yeah.
just before
Yeah.
October Carnival,
Carnival,
or wherever.
yeah.
Because
So
I am
it's-
being
so-
bombarded
yeah.
with people, and I have to kind of pull back because you will kill me.
Yeah.
So,
like-
so why don't we just? I'm saying, should they, like, not use the flute as part of their curriculum? Should they go to like the pan, or the keyboards,
Right.
or the guitar?
Good question. It should be both theoretical and practical.
Okay.
They should learn to read music
Right.
and also be able to play by ear. That is being done in a lot of schools in Trinidad right now.
Yes, my daughter taking full advantage of
Okay.
it right now.
We
Yeah.
need to change the sheet,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
The soil. We We didn't change and put on a fresh sheet
Right.
so that we could lie down properly.
Yeah.
And I am seeing where if we do that, we may be able, we should be able to change this cycle
We call, yeah.
of youth, young people, because then you're going to have something to do. And day after day you get accustomed to it, and we're going to have a lot of musicians. Remember
Yeah.
a time, well, only pretty young, remember a time, much as you remember, we had a few bands in the people, right?
Yeah. Well,
Little combo side here.
yeah,
there,
yeah.
and
I
stuff
know
like
within our time,
Right.
right? Coming
Well,
up,
in
well,
several.
she was with her sisters at the time, and that was with obviously that one was in a part of the gospel scene.
Yeah.
There were a lot of
A lot of
groups,
small,
a lot
yeah,
of
small groups, small bands. Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. And is when this band, and I said this band, and I'm pointing home here, when Masters
Masters
Mind,
Mind.
because I know of Hops.
But tell us something.
I
when
know of
you're done.
Hops after. Well, I didn't experience Hops, right? Hops older than me, right? But why I experienced Masters Mind. So Masters Mind did it for me,
Okay.
right? So the revolution for we, in where bands is concerned, was Masters Mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to put this on the hand side.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman that came from Moruga in Trinidad
Mm-hmm.
and came to Tobago. He came to Tobago at a time when Spring Garden Inn
Mm-hmm.
was being run by Parillon
Mm-hmm.
from Port State.
Okay.
And he came with pool band, a fella named Jerry Stewart.
Well, I know the
I'll tell you a
grandson.
story.
I know the
But
grandson.
Anybody who
Mhm,
understands, I'll
mhm.
tell you about Jerry Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And when Jerry Stewart came to Tobago,
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Stewart like to sell it to Tobago
Mm-hmm.
because almost every artist
Mhm.
in Tobago
Mhm.
artist,
Jerry's phone. Yeah.
he was one of the persons who was pushing
Mm-hmm.
young people and encouraging people like me,
Mm-hmm.
like Monica Joseph, who
Mhm.
together.
Yeah.
Auntie. That's my
Okay.
aunt.
Alvin Pierre.
Mhm.
Alvin
Mhm.
Pierre. People like this guy King. So people like very too many people I can't remember all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I am sure that some of them on the chat will
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the beat,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know about Bill D B.
Jackie Johnson.
Yeah, I will. Is Jack? Ryan was actually giving me the history with them.
All of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
All
Yeah.
of them.
I didn't even know Jackie. I didn't know Jackie was a band. Yeah, yeah. Jackie become a band. Yeah.
Almost all the California
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
Jerry Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was the man.
Mhm.
And I used to call him my musical father
Yeah.
because he would be the one who gave me the opportunity.
Right.
Also, too, I cannot forget, and I know you're going to feel good
Mm-hmm.
because I always call him it.
Yeah.
The first band that I ever played with
Mm-hmm.
was a band called Jeff and the Flames.
Okay.
You ever fella named Prince Unique?
Yeah,
no
Jeff
Prince
Thomas,
Unique,
that
yeah.
changed the name to
Mhm.
King Unique right now.
Mm-hmm.
There was a keyboard man playing there already. I ain't gonna call it him,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when I was a young fella with a lot of flair, wow, I'm playing thing from the time they hear me, but they find the keyboard man. And I started playing with Jeff and the Flames. Right next door, Jeff and the Flames was Ray Lance.
Mm-hmm.
So when Ray Lance practiced, I used to go around. I ended up playing with Ray Lance.
Mhm.
So I play with Jeff and the
Right.
Flames.
Mm-hmm.
I play with Ray Lance until Jeff and the Flames mash up.
Oh, Lord.
I ain't know. Don't ask me how they mash up. Can I play with
Members jump
Jerry
in.
Stewart for not Jerry Stewart, Ray Lance for some time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was around Liquor 7, and
Right.
then I was around Nomad's
Right,
Grass.
and he was into seven.
Yeah, we
And
had
then-
we actually had an interview with the now band
Liquor
leader,
Seven.
Liquor 7.
Liquor
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we played music together. We
Mhm.
all of us used to be around. Listen, what used to happen? Ricardo,
Mhm.
myself,
Mhm.
another young lady from church, Lola George,
Mhm.
and a fella named Brian Clark, Gaba. We had a little small side. And Jerry used to be in La Tropical painting the board,
Mhm.
and not with us alone, and he used to allow groups to come and use his instrument to practice.
Okay.
Groups like Hops,
Right. Nice.
groups,
Yeah.
Hops,
Hops is
and
here.
they and
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and they and them have a long history with
Yeah.
Jerry Jordan.
Mhm,
All
mhm.
of it,
Yeah.
Mm.
right? group like Hops, I had a little Rasta group, Living Roots. Me and Ricardo and Lola, we used to go down there and practice and Jerry, and when we make a mistake, he tell me, that ain't song good.
Yeah,
When you sing a thing, he tell you, yeah, and he used to hit you hard. You understand? But at the same time, that was the fella responsible for the development of a lot of Tobago artists, if not almost all, if not all.
So question, I believe that would have been evident right now. So Tobago had a strong influence when it comes to bands.
Of course. We
Where that went?
Because it's only recently I hear about Little
I
Tobago.
will tell you where it went. When we start to compare ourselves and compete against one another, that is when we become like crabs in a barrel, cultural crabs in a barrel.
Hoping
And
you
I
say that to
I say that to the water in my mouth.
But we don't give back
This
sip.
is nonsense.
We was hoping that would not be
You
able
must have
to
fight down, fight down. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Everybody is somebody. Shadow said that. I might be a keyboardist.
Yes.
I just using one, and you might be a keyboardist. You might have a style.
Yeah.
I might have a style.
Correct.
It's I know you better than me because I see fellas who I consider better than me. Certain things I play, run and ask me, wait, just do that.
Well, just yeah.
And I
it's
would
true.
do the
It's
same.
true.
There was a guy called Orville Roach. I don't know if he's still around. And he was a great keyboardist. When that man playing, I used to just stand up over here and just watch. And I learn a lot
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
When I see that man taking the left hand and playing bass on the keyboard and playing chords up here, I said, nah boy. I said, how he could do that? I couldn't do that yet.
Yeah.
Now, I am doing that.
Yeah.
I am playing. People would want to know who is the bass man.
Yeah.
Bass man playing.
Yeah.
Right? My left hand was lazy. I sit down. I go to
And
bed
you
sometime
practice.
past 12 and 1 o'clock in the night.
Yeah.
Some people say I crazy and you're supposed to go to bed
Yeah.
earlier. But then sometimes, you know, you start
Nah,
a piece
creative
of
does be
music.
haunted.
You start, I start to put on a track. And then I want to put on the first layer, come back and say,
Yeah,
oh God,
yeah.
I like that song.
It doesn't
And
cast
you know,
me.
sometimes you put on that, you spend 4 or 5 hours or 2, 3
Exactly.
days, put on a track, and then you sit down listening to it now and you're hearing something and say, nah, scrap the whole thing and go on
And
over.
go on again. Exactly.
That teaches me, taught me patience.
Patient. Exactly.
I didn't have that at all.
No, what you did for us right now, is when it because of the fact that we were looking for the answers all the while as to what caused us to be so divided in regards to the space when it comes to music.
Yep.
To this day, we are still experiencing the fight down.
Yeah.
Or who better than who. We competing against each other, whatever the case may be. No, you bridge the gap because I will come to as an elder. Right? I will come to as an elder.
No, I am an elder.
Yeah.
I have been here in this place for 7 decades and so yeah. Okay.
So
yes.
no, you gave me comfortable.
Yes.
Now, follow where I'm coming from, based on the input that we had with all those bands, because you actually called more than 10 bands. More than 10 bands, if I could recall it. More than 10 bands. So that's a lot for the Tobago space. Right? And you say now we start competing against each other. Now look how we took to pass on. You know what would have passed on to us. We ain't talk about it togetherness when you started. You know. We're not talking about when he said Jerry Stott came across and he built something and he start making progress and people start going and learning and look what we took. The fight down, the crab and barrel mentality. And for today we're struggling trying to figure out where did that come from. Because as I always say, as Tobagonians, we're too small. Too small. As I always say, you're sneezing shall be like catching cold in Crown Point. You understand? Because we're so small, the capacity so small is that the fight down is not making any sense.
Yeah.
So now you would have actually make it clear. I'm glad you come. I honestly glad you come because you actually give us where it would have actually happened. No, sorry to song this way. We are to blame all you know.
No, well, I'll tell you something, I tell you something. There are those of us who try to keep a certain kind of standard, a certain kind of historical kind of Do you know, in the days of hops and celestials
I
and
hear about Celestial.
kingsmen,
I hear those them things.
we are calling some names,
Yeah,
right? And other people.
Right.
Hops have a show. I singing on the show. Celestials, whoever.
Yeah.
You know, and we have people paying to come in. You
Yeah.
know, we ain't asking for no money. You know, when I have my show, them come in and sing for
They come
me,
and
and
sing for you.
that
Yeah.
gone out the window.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
That kind of
Yeah.
Lenhan culture.
Yeah,
That gone.
Yeah, that gone. That gone.
Is it eat a
Nowadays-
food culture?
When I ask a certain young man, I don't let them call people name. To come and sing on a few, the man tell me in front of me, he say, "Boy, you don't talk to this man."
Oh.
I say, "Okay, sir."
Gosh, man, I can't do that in Tobago.
Right.
Not Tobago.
And that was it. I had to talk to his
Tobago.
manager. So he can't, unless he manager talk to me. But I know he manager tell me $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. Right? Now, one of the other things is how we market ourselves.
Yeah.
What do you do to market? Mr. Andy Wilson and myself. You hear music played on I-95 with
Yeah.
the most influential
Really?
radio. I don't care if the rest of them vex because I said that. Because they just play with music.
They play the music.
Right?
Yeah.
Along with that, we have a few online radio stations. But we happen to have a contact on I-95 that played our music. And we sent
Yeah.
music from the song contest.
Yes.
People would have heard themselves on I-95
Yeah.
countless times. They don't know how they got there. Do you know why we stopped sending music there? Because the music is not, most of the music is not protected. The artists and them, they sing, but they're not protected.
Protect.
Try to encourage them. We had John Arnold, when we was doing the song contest, we had John Arnold offering to do 2 free workshops
Yeah.
for people to be aware and to be informed where
Right.
copyright is concerned and stuff like that. And some people said all kind of negative things. They ain't come
Yeah.
no way. But John know where he know.
Yeah.
I know I know.
Yeah.
Them still need to know.
Correct.
You understand? And we have to get out of that kind of dotish
That
mindset.
mindset. Yeah.
We have to get out of it culturally.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get out of it religiously. We have to get out of it politically.
Yeah. You're knocking people
Yeah,
by.
yeah.
No, I ain't knocking nobody. It's
Yeah.
a factual thing.
No, you're
We have to
talking
get
real
out
talk.
of
Yeah.
it.
You're talking real talk. You're talking
Yeah.
real talk.
I just meet
Yeah.
a man, talk to ask about waiting about election, man start to cost me.
Oh gosh.
Me never tell the man which party me belong to, if me
Yeah.
belong to any party, the man start to cost me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have changed over the
Yes, sir.
over the time. I know a culture where
Imagine these are things that cause segregation.
yeah, I know a culture where we will as we talk a couple episodes back. The other neighbor we used to call Dadiga. And when Dadiga Siki fig come in, Dadiga used to say, "Ole come, pick fig, pick orange, pick breadfruit."
That is Tobago culture.
That
Yeah,
was Tobago.
yeah.
That's what I
That's
know.
Tobago
Yep.
culture.
That
We
I
share.
know.
We used to share.
We used
boy.
to share. We used to
Yeah.
share. We used to and not just share based on where fruits or food was concerned. Knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
You understand?
You know, today,
Yeah.
I had that conversation
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up in my village in Golden Lane, Mount Thomas and Cologne,
Mm-hmm.
and something was driving me. I could not sit down on the block and lie with them fellas just so.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I went on the block, I was the man talking all the time.
Yeah.
But you know where you used to find me? By most of them old people in the
Yeah.
village. And that's how I get to write a book
Mm-hmm.
about the history of Golden Lane, Mount Thomas and Cologne, yet to be published. Right? You'll find me by them old people sitting down. Because what I gleaning from them is knowledge. And as far as my old man tell me, and I read in Proverbs, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Right? So when we have that kind of interaction, where we have the elders, long ago, just as my mother used to tell me stories and my father used to give me history, long ago, they used to have in the villages on moonlight night. I don't know if anybody old enough to remember that, but on moonlight night, there are 2 things that used to happen in Tobago. Hide and seek and storytelling.
Okay. Well, no, it's different.
Okay?
Anytime you hear Moonlight now is
You cannot get to see.
The wolves
Listen,
are
my friend,
out.
hold on. You can't get to see no proper moonlight these days.
yeah,
Unless you
true,
live in
though.
a place like me.
it's
It's
true,
true.
it's
Because
true.
the amount of
Oh,
lights
okay.
we have obscuring
Yeah.
beauty and
True,
the moonlight,
true,
you
true,
ain't getting
true.
that again.
No.
And nobody ain't going to see no kind of
Yeah.
moonlight because we are TV.
No, what I was saying,
Yeah.
no,
And
no,
because
well,
we
no,
used to do it,
yeah,
Yeah.
well, the
we
evidence
have
of
a
moon,
phone.
no, yeah, the evidence of moonlight. No, anytime I see a hint of moonlight, no, fella saying, hey, wolves are out. So there's a different kind of.
No, serious enough.
We
Please
used to
don't
do
get
that a
happy
lot. My
when a
family used to do that
moonlight
a
come
lot.
around.
Yeah.
Boy, that used to
Sometimes-
be so nice.
Yeah, even,
I wonder
even
if-
before we
Mhm.
had like electricity and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Yeah.
and thing.
Mhm.
We used to sit down outside
Mhm.
and just watching the moon,
That's
listening
right.
to the crickets,
Yeah.
and listening to the frogs, and listening
Man,
to the
you-
atmosphere, and you're just talking, you're
Mhm.
telling stories. It was just them times they know you get electricity, place bright, and they sit down inside and they're bored and they're watching each other and they're like, now we're gonna turn off them lights and go
I-
outside. We used to turn off
Mon-
the lights
yeah,
and literally go
Yeah,
back outside.
that they did that already with us. Yeah.
just to have that time together.
So you have something,
Mm-hmm.
and some people might disagree with me.
Mm-hmm.
The psychographics in Scarborough
Mm-hmm.
and the psychographics in Lansford
Mm.
going to be two different
Correct.
types,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Apart from Lansford being so far,
Mm-hmm.
everybody around one another, we
Mhm.
close knit,
Mhm.
and so on. In Scarborough,
Mm-hmm.
most people live like strangers.
Yeah.
You don't even know who live next door.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so there's a difference.
Yeah.
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 But all over Tobago
Mhm.
was one time like how Lands for me go be. And I just
Yeah,
using Lands
yeah,
for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just call it the last indigenous village in Tobago
Uh-huh.
Right.
because it's a place that I have a lot of relatives there,
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
worked there for many years, and I
Mhm.
know the culture of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even though they might have their little differences,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
you're gonna go inside and you're gonna see a
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. It's
You're gonna
right.
see something happening there that don't
Mhm.
happen,
That do, it's,
Yeah,
no, it's
that do-
true.
yeah,
It's true.
correct.
It's true.
and they will
It's true.
see
It's
that
true.
hey, there's still a problem. But
Mhm.
that is the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Mm.
These days you don't have total peace.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have that evening in church.
Mm-hmm.
You go in church and go in plenty church. Your mother baccarat you have a plenty
Mm,
church
yeah,
right now. You want to do what is already
gonna-
going on. But
So the question I want to ask, so you say over a period of time, what I'm getting is that we would have moved away from what would have brought us together culturally,
move away from our heritage.
from our heritage.
Yeah.
So why we still keeping heritage?
Because what we have now is a show.
Thank you.
Wow.
we
And
keep
I
saying
am
that.
always frowning at
Jeez, Lord,
Well,
that. I
we
am
keep
always
saying that.
frowning
All
at,
hitting hard tonight.
I am frowning at it because
Mhm.
I don't see the relevance
Mhm.
of Massa in
Okay.
this time. I don't see why we have to be reminded. I am not a slave.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you.
I
am not a slave.
rebellious, but
I may have had ancestors come from
From-
Africa
yeah.
and they brought them here as slaves,
Yeah.
but they were not born as
A
slaves.
slave.
mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
So
True.
let me leave that there. That is
True.
my
I
philosophy.
feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying.
At the same
Yeah.
time, what we have going on in Tobago now, at one time Tobago was called the food basket of children.
Oh God.
What we have in Tobago now is a lot of lackadaisical minds affected
Mhm.
by technology.
Mm-hmm.
Even the guy on the block who not very academic
Mm-hmm.
is very savvy when
Yeah.
it comes to
Correct.
this.
Yeah. We go on AI.
Correct.
Well, he might know more than you,
Mm-hmm. True.
and he's going to use it to do a certain thing,
Yeah.
which is not
Yeah.
going to be very acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also going to encourage and influence others who are quarter,
Mhm.
half educated.
Mhm.
And when you're not educated,
Mm-hmm.
when you cannot understand what
Yeah.
is happening with the words and
Mhm.
with everything,
Yeah.
with the society, when you get your news from off the street from
Mhm.
somebody who get it from off the street
Mhm.
from somebody, you get it from somebody.
But
who
someone,
here.
yeah.
You cannot be properly informed and you cannot be able to properly
Mm-hmm.
chart your course.
Now, based on your opinion, now I don't want you to leave where you talk about heritage there, just like that. But based on your opinion, and as I say, you don't want to be reminded about a massa.
Mhm.
Now we have a young generation coming up. What do you suggest us do in regards to, especially where the heritage product is concerned? As you rightfully see, it's a show. For
Yeah,
some
that's true.
others, they might say, okay, well, we're still trying to let the youth understand what we went through in the past and whatever the case may be. But based on your view, if you had was to, let's say, revamp it, right?
All right, you're
what-
putting me in the executive council. All right, I'm gonna step in.
Yeah. Bring in
I'll
us,
step
but
in.
it-
What would be your
Yeah.
idea?
Right.
Your idea, so that we could able to still
Right.
bridge the gap of the young people
I want you to
learning
listen to me.
of
Boy.
the history.
Well, hear this. Over the years, we are talking about Tobago heritage, and we portray a slave plantation hangover mentality,
Right.
Correct.
and we go from village to village to reenact certain things that remind us of the days of slavery and stuff like
Yeah.
that and all that. I am saying each village in Tobago has a unique
True,
kind
true,
of a history.
True. That is
There's
true.
something about every village. And one of the things that, and I always will use Lance for me, although right now it is not happening. But Lance for me, when they lost the Blue Food Festival, and some people are vexed with me when I talk about that too, but I don't care about that. When they lost the Blue Food Festival, I did a proposal for them to establish their own village festival,
Okay.
and they took their advantage of it. That village festival ran successfully under stress for 4 years straight. And something happened, and I tell myself I ain't going through that
Right.
because I wasn't doing it for pay. I was doing it for love of
Yeah,
community.
culture.
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
culture.
But I believe Lekito has a very close connection to farine and breadfruit.
Yes. Yes.
Golden Lane, we had twice we kept it. We tried it, something called Voices in Spring, Golden Lane, Mount Thomas and Culloden Village Festival.
Right.
I can remember that Pembroke had something called La Fête de Pembroke. It was lasting for about 7 days.
Yeah.
I know that Boko have the Goat Race Festival.
Right.
I don't know if you're going to want to call it a village festival.
Right.
But I believe that you could allow every village to have its own
Has its own
unique
unique-
village
I'm feeling that.
festival
I'm
that
feeling
is
that.
relevant
I'm
to
feeling
it.
that.
And
I'm feeling
then
that. I'm feeling
you
that.
could have a big show, probably
Yeah,
a week,
yeah.
where you take
You bring
come and
everybody.
bring
together.
snippets
Ah,
and
yeah,
things from
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
and make
I'm feeling
one
that.
big show. You have
I'm
a
feeling
week.
that. I'm
So,
feeling that.
so you
I'm
you
feeling
bring
that.
them and you highlight,
Yeah.
you take the best out of it and you highlight this thing.
Yeah.
Now let me come to the Moriah Old Time Wedding. They don't want to kill me for that. But the Moriah Old Time Wedding is not a Tobago Old Time Wedding. That is a slave wedding. What is Massa doing there?
Oh.
What the hell is
I
Massa
didn't know.
doing
I thought
in
Massa was already
the
involved.
Old Time Wedding?
Eh?
What are you doing there?
I don't even know that.
If you
No.
do the history and study the
Yeah.
history, you realize how the slaves were married. And Massa used to be drunk. Yeah, and he mistress used to be drunk, and he used to make his stupid speech.
Okay,
And he used to allow the slave to travel in his stagecoach, and most of the slaves that used to have that privilege were house slaves.
Was whole slaves.
Right? Now you have Tobago Old Time
Time
Wedding.
Wedding.
Let me tell you about Tobago Old Time Wedding. I remember. Listen to me. Tobago Old Time Wedding at one point in time when we didn't have them big bands, is tambourine used to march them.
Yeah.
The tambourine used to march them. And by
That's
the
the
way,
instrument.
the tambourine music was developed in Culloden
Right.
by the Phillips and the Cooper families. And I want to put that on the hand side to a whole set of people trying to thief it from all over Tobago. I ain't calling no name before anybody vexes me again. Right? But the tambourine used to march them. And then after a time, because remember at one point in time, steel band was a kind of barjan thing. But you used to have something called pan round the neck. That was the
Yes.
first.
Yeah. I
And
heard about that.
some of them, I can remember in our village when certain people got married, there was a pan around the next side and they used to march them.
Yeah.
In the yard. Now, long ago, people used to get married either to somebody from your village or the next village. Very rarely you used to find people going outside because many used
Okay.
to beat you when they come in the village to take away the girls.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I heard
They
about
try
that.
that with
No,
my
no,
own-
it's true.
They
It's true.
tried that with my
It's true.
woman. He nearly killed some people
Oh,
before
God.
when he went for mine, but right? Nearly killed them because he was big and strong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they had us to leave here alone. Otherwise I wouldn't have born.
Oh,
Right?
that was
Right. Right. So you either get married to somebody from the village that you grew up with or the next village as the case may be. Right? Because we used to have two houses that used to go.
Right.
You either go to the bride house first and the groom house after.
Right.
But in the yard, everything used to be done in the yard.
In the yard.
Cooking and
Okay,
everything.
okay.
You used to have a long table
Mm-hmm.
with most of the time coconut branch covering the top.
Right.
The mother give her, the father give her sit down so.
Mhm.
Right, and the groom up here.
Yeah.
And the guests sit down around the table. And you have the food sharing. That is where I learned to cook goat and love goat, because
Right.
in my village I used to be the fire boy
Mhm.
with a fella named Mr. Jitel, who was the big goat cooker in Golani, Mount Thomas and Culloden. Right? So they serve the food and you had the cake and wine and all of that. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no massa.
Okay.
The man who used to make the famous speech is the father giver.
The father giver.
We used to come and talk all the green verbs and all
Right.
kind of
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
because you know
yeah.
some of these people of old time, they go
Yeah,
hear
but-
big wood and they go. So I fella used to write down all the big words that Eric Williams say, and when he come in the rum shop, he kill you with them.
Give it.
Use them in the wrong
Yeah,
place.
big words like that.
Okay.
But
okay.
after they finish there, then you see they leave and they go to the next house. Whether the next house is in the next part of the
For the
village,
village
or
or
in the next
next
village,
village.
or wherever.
Yeah.
That is how. Long before they used to have, long before that coming, when they start to have wedding in community center.
Right.
Just imagine, they would never used to even have wedding in community center. And then they start to move out in places like Ruvanels and different places and stuff like that. But that is how it used to be.
Right.
So
right.
that is why I'm saying to the Tobago old time wedding that is held in Moriah, and I don't care who vex, it is a fact. It is not a
Tobago
Tobago old time wedding. Massa is not supposed to be there. What is he doing there?
Wow. Well, that is for the organizers to
Well,
To note.
it's years
To
I
note.
talking that, you know.
yeah, it's for them to note.
But them, you want to
Yeah.
swell up your face and watch me bad
Look at
because
it,
I said I don't care.
Mhm.
That's the facts.
Right.
No, I want to bring us to something now today, right? And when I say today, of recent, you would have been one of the first chairman for the TPAC
Yeah.
company, right?
Not one of the first chairman.
But the first.
I was the first,
The first chairman for
that was
TPAC.
appointed
Right.
on the
Okay, cool.
board of directors.
Corrected. Nice. Now, I should be out with it. What TPAC doing?
TPAC,
Yeah.
what he did,
What they're doing, or what
what
you
they're
all did?
doing, well,
Mhm.
I don't know right now. But I can
Mhm.
tell you one thing. The mandate that was given to TPAC
Mhm.
when we started, we actually built the Tobago Performing Arts Company.
Okay.
We actually built it from ground
Mhm.
during the pandemic.
Now, before anybody take my questioning as being,
That they're not doing anything else.
yeah, I'm just asking the question based on true concern, right? So don't come for me thinking that I'm being malicious.
And
No,
I
I'm
will
not being
de-
malicious.
I will defend you. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry.
So I just want to get
So you
some
wanna know what they're
information.
doing?
Yeah,
But to
and
be honest,
what
I
you all
don't
did based on.
know.
So what was the vision before?
All right. I
Yeah.
know that TPAC was mandated
Mm-hmm.
to set up an orchestra. One.
Okay.
I know that they were also mandated to have training in the communities in
Right.
different cultural things, dance and
Mhm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there were 3 floors allocated to TPAC to the back of the Shore Park Cultural Complex, one for a recording studio and for
Okay.
music, and the other one for dance, and the other one for film,
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Okay.
Right? I don't know what has become of that.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing, because then
Mhm.
when December 6th came,
Mm-hmm.
December 6th of 2021,
One.
Right.
where we,
Mhm.
the members of the board, were paid
Mhm.
up to December 6th.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what become of the rest, because December 6th was election day.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody hand over nothing yet
Right.
and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I have made several requests and several things about it. Nobody
Right.
is studying me, nobody is taking me on
Mhm.
as to why did you pay the board up to the 6th of December.
Mhm.
Anyhow, that's another story
Sorry, but-
you may hear about,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that after that, the election, of course, boards had to resign. I would have been the first person from any board in Tobago to tender my resignation, and I indicated to them I'm willing to continue if considered,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
of course, you know,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
change.
change,
And,
yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
And do ask me, Andy Wilson
Mhm.
might be able to give you a better answer than me. You know? Because In April of 2022, he was appointed as a director
Yeah.
on the board. I
Right.
was nowhere around. I was
You might
already.
tell her the same thing.
I was already.
They're gonna say you don't have to do nothing.
So ask Andy Wilson. But to get a better thing, you should invite the. I don't know what going on there, but
Yeah.
somebody from TPAC. I invite them. and
Yeah,
ask them
I'm
what
hoping to
going
get
on.
somebody
Yeah,
soon.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
hoping to
because,
get somebody
uh,
soon.
it was a great
Because
program.
based on what I'm hearing so far, it would have been a great program, and there are some initiatives that we on the ground basically would like to see TPAC engage. And I want to say engage us, engage us, the creatives on the ground, to hear from us, and I hoping that could be something that materialize. You know,
Well,
because I
if
could
that
say
doesn't- if
I
that-
appreciate what they did with the rhythm and soul.
yeah,
Where they incorporated
Mhm.
themselves into the artist
Mm-hmm.
performance
Mhm.
in whether it is that they were doing some
Dance
dance or
yeah,
you know something to enhance the performance
Yeah, the
on
production.
stage,
Well,
the
one thing I
production
know
that was really
that
good.
When the person that we interviewed and brought on board for the different discipline,
Mhm.
they were very qualified,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they had a good
Mm-hmm. The good team.
team
Team, yeah.
in
Yeah.
TPAC, right? Very
Okay.
good team. Unfortunately, one or two people may have
Yeah.
gone. I know Justin Peterkin
Mhm.
and O.J. Richards
Mhm,
were
mhm.
supposed to be
Be-
playing a very important part in
Mhm.
the orchestra.
Mhm.
I don't know if we cover that. So
Oh, okay.
I can't answer that question
Big, yeah.
with our TPAC doing.
Right.
But I could tell you one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Len Phillips and Andy Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Len Phillips Music LPM.
Mhm.
I am a registered legal company.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Andy Wilson
Mhm.
under certain things
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
also.
Yeah.
We are
Mhm.
doing the best that we can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We might not be very loud on
Yeah.
the outside,
Mhm.
but you're going to hear
Yeah.
and you're going to see
Mhm.
things happening
Yeah.
because there are young artists that
Mhm.
you will hear about soon.
Mhm.
Some of them
Mhm.
coming out
Yeah.
soon, some of them
Mhm.
for the first time,
Yeah.
and etc. And we are working with them. And as I said before earlier, my main focus now
Mhm.
is on developing children,
Children.
and the
And I feel that.
underrated.
I appreciate that.
And
And
yeah.
I consider myself as chief underrated. But at the same time, I'm not so very. You know,
Yeah.
Trinidad is a real nice place to really sell your talent.
Yeah.
They are very appreciative.
Yeah, yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah,
come
yeah.
from Tobago and you go down there, they appreciate you 100%.
No, it's true. It's true. It's true.
Right?
We would have heard it
But
a lot
yeah.
of times.
Yeah, that's true.
Here,
Yeah.
based on who you are and how you are, you suffer and dead. You understand? I'm telling you, you suffer and dead. Yeah.
Lord. No.
Yeah, I really heard it's like it's a mindset
Yeah, it's
that
a
we from
mindset.
Tobago going
No,
down
we
there
s-
thinking
yeah.
that
Man,
we
from the
are
time you said
lesser.
Tobago in Trinidad,
Yeah,
I
but-
don't know,
yeah,
and
I
this is
really
why
heard
I
that.
don't
Yeah.
like to hear. I like togetherness.
Yeah,
I
see
like
that.
to see people come together.
together,
and
yeah.
Think I
Yeah.
love that because I grew
yeah.
up in an environment.
we
that
grow.
people was to be
We had
close
a
and
good
also-
bit of it. We get, as I would say, with us, we get both sides of the wood. We born
Yeah.
84, so we get both sides of the the
Also-
old school, coming into the new school and so forth. But Mr. Len, we appreciate you
We
coming
really,
by.
really appreciate it.
And we
the
could
information.
actually, I would like to go back a little bit. We're going to invite you again. Because we want to actually
Well,
touch
yeah,
a little
so
bit
many
more
things
in
I
the
could talk
history.
about, eh?
Yeah, we know
I
that.
could talk about a lot of
We
things.
know that.
but-
And we want to
Because there were
bridge
so many things that you
Yeah.
touched on as you were going along.
Yeah.
But it would carry us in a different vein. So we
Yeah.
really had to come back and really
Mhm.
what to say, really take the conversation a
Mhm.
little deeper
Mhm.
in certain parts of what you were
Yeah.
talking about.
Especially when it comes to, the heritage,
Yeah.
the culture. Because one of the things that in building out a orange economy
Economy.
within Tobago,
Mhm.
culture is one of the things that we really need to pay attention
And you
to.
need
Yeah.
to forget,
Yeah.
you need not to deal with differences.
Mhm.
Utilize the resources that you have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because this preferring and rather,
Mhm.
and me
It could
like
destroy.
he and
It
me
could
like
destroy.
she,
It could
Yeah.
destroy. Yeah.
and you're suffering people
Mhm.
who need them same people,
Same people,
to
yeah.
offer certain services
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
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 But
yeah.
because of your
Mhm.
attitude
Mhm.
towards
Mhm.
certain people,
Mhm.
that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that ain't gonna happen.
That need to change.
That stupidness needs
Yeah.
to
That
stop.
need to stop.
Yeah.
But then they say if it doesn't stop,
Mhm.
you have to find a way. You,
Yeah.
the person, have to
Mhm.
find a way to
Mhm.
keep moving.
Moving forward. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true.
Moving.
You the third, 1, 2. You about the fourth person that we had talking about the creative sector said that. So if everybody's saying the same thing and at different times,
Right.
then we
a
have
million
some- we have some-
Frenchmen can't be wrong.
exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
be
we
wrong.
have some
But in the Bible, we are
Yeah.
different. We have two agree on earth as touching anything.
exactly.
So it's way. So sometimes when I doing research
Mhm.
and somebody tell me something, no, do you're not telling me nothing
Mhm.
and get me to swallow that. You know, so
Exactly.
I am sorry.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
especially these days when it's so easy to
It's
just
so easy
Google
to go in
and
and
find out
find
something.
something.
No.
Exactly.
I go in and check it out.
Yeah.
I want to find out.
Mhm.
And when I find out
Yeah.
from one person,
Mhm.
I still want to find out again.
Again. Yeah.
So I go into a next source to see
To-
what they say about the
About the
same
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
And I may even check a third.
Yeah.
And if I get confirmation,
Mhm.
then I say yes. I tell you something. In my book in Golden Lane,
Mhm.
the history of Golden Lane, Bongtowers and Colony. Everybody heard about Gangang Sira,
Yeah, but-
right? And she finally, so final resting place
Mhm.
was in Golden Lane.
Mhm.
But there is a little confusion about where she was actually buried.
Mhm.
Now, when I was doing my interviews,
Mhm.
one guy told me that she buried in a place called Banagoli.
Okay.
Because Bana said when he was building the house, he dig up a skull by some
Okay.
place.
Mhm.
But our next fella tell me, forget he.
Mhm.
Gangang said we buried in a place called Louisa Hill,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
So you're going to Golden Lane just on top of the community center, is
Mhm.
Louisa Hill. You know what
Okay.
I did in my book? I put it two stories.
Yeah.
So you will
You
choose.
got
You gotta
your
choose.
research now.
You gotta do your research. You gotta try.
Everybody want to believe
Yeah.
because I'm not too
Interesting.
sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Recall.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah. Yeah.
Two stories.
Mhm.
Put
Okay,
it to them.
put it
So
to
you
them.
going down there, look at
Mhm.
them, and if you feel to believe that
Mhm.
one, it's up to
Mhm.
you.
Nice.
But I believe that she was buried on Louisa Hill,
Mhm.
but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well,
Interesting.
again, thanks for coming by.
Interesting.
We really appreciate it. And as
Yeah.
again, you have a wealth of knowledge. And I like how the fact that you want, you're starting from the primary school, right? In regards to passing on your knowledge, in regards to building out, because that is where it starts.
Mhm.
And if we could able to capture that young generation from those impressionable minds
Right.
from now,
Yes.
there's hope for Tobago
Yes.
in regards to where culture is concerned, where the creative sector is concerned, and it could be a booming one, right? Our hope,
It will be.
yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
Low talk positive about it. It
Yeah.
will be a booming one.
Yeah,
We just
talk
hoping
positive
we,
is
we
right.
are just hoping to actually be the ones to kind of like at least let we see a little bit of it now. You know,
Yeah.
that is our hope.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, to
yeah.
see a little bit of
Well,
it actually.
I can't really spill the beans, but
Mm.
there are things in the pipeline.
Yeah, man, we know
There are
that. we
things
know
in the
that, we know that,
pipeline,
we know
and
that.
I can't say about it
Yeah.
now, but
Mhm.
have hope
Exactly.
because we have to save the children.
Yes.
Because them
Mhm.
same picnic that we neglecting today,
So,
that we not care about, that
Mhm.
we give him a phone when we want to be
Mhm.
get something to do. They are, hey, look, go and play, look at phone,
Mhm.
and that kind of a thing. We
Mhm.
don't know how much danger
mhm.
we're doing.
Yeah.
The ones that we live in, and the question I'm asking to
Mhm.
all parents right now,
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
is training your
The
children?
children. Correct.
Who?
Correct. Yeah. So,
Yeah, so parents have their part to play as
Mhm.
well in the interests of the minds of their children and getting, so this would allow parents too as well to get more involved in what is happening in the lives of their children if they
Mhm.
want to know that they want their child to grow up with this certain type of information and
Right.
knowledge.
That's
If
right.
they know they're not getting it from these sources, then you make your input, make your suggestions
Mhm.
and that kind of stuff. I really appreciate the
We have a problem,
information.
you know.
Tell me.
Parents need to learn parenting these days because they get
But I
young
hear
grand.
somebody else said that
Yeah,
on
they
this
need
same-
because then not
Yeah.
every parent, not every mother and,
and
father,
is a parent.
Mhm.
Understood, correct.
Yeah. So I
Alright.
seen Natisha, Secretary
No, she
Natisha
having
saying
like
that Len, I didn't know Jumbies get buried.
Yeah?
That she, like Gang Serious a real person.
Yeah. But I could tell you more about Gangang say, but let me
Yeah.
let me go there right now because
yeah.
what she could do, she could help me publish the book because I have a whole story about Gangang Sierra. I could give you
Yeah.
a snippet of it.
Mhm.
They said she was in Studley Park, Muncie George area, and she
Yeah.
had 3 children, and
Mhm.
they sell them to some plantation owner in Golden Lane, and
Right.
then when after emancipation, she come and she look for them, and
Mhm.
I will believe that story.
Oh.
They said that she was brought here by Sue World to rally. But somebody come up with some weird story that she fly from Africa. Now, why would somebody fly? Hey, listen, now, man. You see that stupid story there? But
So, if you're Korean and
that Sukunya part there,
Uh-huh.
that is another story. That is a real part. But we ain't going.
But-
Yeah, that's a real part. But we ain't going
that's why
there.
from thing I
We
was
ain't going
like,
there. We ain't
Okay,
going there
okay,
tonight.
right. So,
Right? But that's a real part. Eh?
Yeah.
Don't get tired.
Okay.
Right,
All right,
because
nice. So,
remember that one of the most Golden Lane, Mount Thomas and Kelowna and Lekki too was in one at one time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you're talking about Obi and stuff like that, careful with we
Yeah.
up there because down in
Aye, aye,
Kelowna, we ain't easy down there either. Right? No, I don't know nothing about Obi.
it's a careful way.
Careful with it, yeah.
I really don't know Obi, but hear stories.
Yeah, hear
Yeah,
stories.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I know stories,
Hear
eh?
stories.
Right.
You
hear stories.
understand?
It's true,
And I
it's
see
true.
people do thing already. You ever went to a real dance?
No.
No,
All right, let me leave that. We started get too kind of
Yeah.
weird.
No,
now,
I,
right?
in all of this, I'm just saying, I'm glad that we still have people around that could able to give you a taste of what Tobago history was all about. You understand? And we need that because there's something missing.
Yeah.
You know, and we trying to figure out why we
Yeah,
this
yeah.
separated, segregated, and we're not able to get it right.
Yeah.
And as you rightfully said, not in religion, not in politics, not in
Nothing.
yourself when
Yeah,
it
yeah.
comes into the creative sector. You know? As I talk about the food basket, you know, with
Yeah.
agriculture, we there's a lot of things that missing when it comes to
And we have
Tobago.
plenty waistline Tobago still. like,
Exactly.
not doing nothing.
So we really need to come back to that place where we could able to really harness our legacy.
So you
if-
see,
if
I
Put it
think
out.
we
No,
very
no,
certainly
no.
now waking up in minds of
This-
some people in
this-
this
Yeah.
life, yeah.
this might sound kind of jokey and funny, eh? But it's hard for me now. I have some tomatoes down. Some my Sunday argue with me. I say bygone, he say not bygone, it's bygone.
Okay.
Right? So whether it's bygone or by some bygone done, the piece of them now start to come up and so on.
Right.
And anybody come to thief my thing, I start in my ground, yeah.
Yeah.
I start in my ground.
Yeah. Mr. Andy, I hear you. Yeah.
Like,
So here was somebody asking a
Yes,
question.
Yes.
Len, who willing to
willing
cut
to
the
cut
Mariah still cutting tree?
huh? Well, I don't know, you know. I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you something. He had one down where the credit union is right now.
Yeah.
4 fellas cut it.
Yeah.
And no,
Hey,
the one in Culloden,
yeah.
the one in Culloden fall long.
Uh-huh.
Nobody didn't cut that.
Right.
So people escape.
Oh.
But after he fall down, after Silk Cotton fall down, weird things happening go Lily. And I tell you weird things, real weird things.
Yeah.
I don't know if it because the Silk Cotton tree fall down, if that was
Yeah.
a protector or something.
Yeah.
But after the Silk Cotton tree fall down, up to recently, weird things, someone to know
Yeah,
that this,
yeah.
that, once that thing going in Golden Lane, boy. So I don't know. But you see that Silk Cotton tree in thing there?
The Mariah.
Nobody ain't going to cut that.
No man touching that.
The best thing for them
Yes,
to do, make it a tourist attraction
yeah.
and build a causeway over the
Yeah, do
from
a road
the
somewhere,
side there.
yeah, do
Of course,
something,
give them
yeah.
Chinese to come in
Yeah.
and build a thing because they could do it, eh?
Yeah, they could do it.
To go across and end up to Mountain Hill. But
Exactly.
I don't want to know why they give me the whole budget.
Yeah.
Or Trinidad and Tobago budget. Me ain't going there.
Only the people that they place, eh? Only the people that they place. Hey, this was a good one.
Yeah, well,
This was a
I
good one.
really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
This
This was a good one.
evening.
The education was good. We touch on the education. We touch on starting with the young people. We hit some history. We talk about the legacy, the heritage.
We
and
talk about
preserving.
everything.
We talk about everything. And I appreciate that. I appreciate
Right.
that. We gotta bring her back. We gotta bring her back and
Yeah.
really go through some of the storytelling because
But
you know.
I'm just sorry
I
that
don't think that.
one and two of the people that I really used to talk with, and we used to share things and get more information. They
Yeah.
no longer here.
Okay.
And that is unfortunate.
Yeah, for real, for real.
Right?
for
I
real.
don't know how long I gonna be around for, but I
Nah,
hope
well,
to,
we gotta utilize you as
no,
a
I hope
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
eternal life, you know.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So
and
that's
then, my boy in the back there,
it. Yeah.
Debaton, I don't know about you, I looking for eternal life. Right? So I hope to be around for a long time.
Yeah, well, we gotta get everything documented. At least we get video recording.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
guys, again, we
So,
appreciate
yeah.
you coming on live. We appreciate
and
you all
truly.
being a part of the discussion, and we're gonna continue the discussion. You know,
And
Build
as
to culture.
a elder, let me say thanks for the
You're most-
information
you're
that you
most-
would have
you're most
passed
welcome.
on,
Yeah.
not only to us tonight, but for the persons that you
Yeah.
would have, made an impact in their life and in their music, and helping them to be where they're at today. Thanks to you and Uncle Andy, and the other persons whose name I may not know.
Yeah.
We appreciate, people like you, doing what you do.
Yeah.
And for as long as you are here, God grants you life, health, and strength. You keep up the good work.
You know, it's a strange thing. The last thing I'm saying here, it's a strange kind of thing. That I come from a very, very musical family. And
Yeah.
you would be surprised to know that Andy's a apartheid, Kashif is a apartheid, Delisa is a apartheid, Jada is a apartheid. And we have plenty more.
Yeah.
You're going to hear more about it.
Yeah, I am the bastard son.
Wonderful.
You're gonna
I just
hear
always
more.
say that.
You're going to hear more about
Yeah,
it.
I
Don't worry.
am the bastard son.
Don't worry about it. You're going to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So guys, it was nice. So
We'll have storytelling soon.
Soon.
Some people say that
Yeah.
they love storytelling. Tonight would
Yeah.
be storytelling time,
Yeah.
but yes, you have to dig into some of these stories.
So again, ABWS Signature Media Plus. This is We Don't Give a
Sip.
Right. So
I
till
mean,
next
I
week.
ain't take a sip yet, but
Yeah, we're gonna meet
It's sipping
again
on water
next week.
tonight.
Big up to the team, Deverton, Technical, Fletcher, Lights, and Mr. Andy. Yeah, you're on the inside. So
Home
until
away
next
from
week,
home.
we're gonna touch again. All right, blessed love.
Love and light.
I